All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston, Ohio, for towards the end of the year for Thursday Night Lights. Man, we got 2 more games. It has flown by. TVC is starting to take shape. So this evening's show, of course, do our TVC recap and kind of talk about the projection of the league. We got some guests here tonight. Landon Hypes, offensive lineman for the Golden Rockets, and Josh Clarkson, back off injury. We'll call him 95%. He's got the cast off from that boxer fracture, so we're excited to have him on. And, of course, Coach Graham will be joining us later. As always, I'm Matt Petersen. To my right, Nathan Molihan. To my left, Jordan Lackey. Guys, we're getting close.
It is getting close.
Yeah, it's good to hear from Josh out there. He catching some balls today, he said, and doing some contact stuff with that hand, so that's a good sign for us.
Yeah, 95% is better than no percent, having him out there.
Right.
And, of course, with we talked about Johnny Scott coming back last week too, and how excited he must have been to get, because I know initially he thought he wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
He thought his season was done, so I'm sure he must have felt really good to come out there and get that first hit and play last week. And, of course, Josh being back, it's good to have those guys back because, first of all, they're good players and you need them, and they're good character guys too.
Yep. Yeah. That's, of course, we haven't seen a lot of Josh on offense since week 2. He played basically Oak Hill. He broke his hand in that Oak Hill game. Then played the game at Fairland with a broken hand. And then after that, we didn't see him for 2 or 3 games, come back with a club. Had that play against Vinton County, had an interception thrown right to him. Poor fella just couldn't corral it with that club on.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll talk to him about that and some other things. So, as the league sits right now, guys, Vinton County and Nelsonville both 7-1. That's kind of what everybody expected, I think, at this point. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but Athens kind of pulled one over on us, and I think we all want to have that one back. It'd be interesting to talk to Coach Graham and get his thoughts and see if his align with ours about the way that went.
Right.
So Wellston sits 3-5, Alexander 2-6, Meigs 1-7, then of course River Valley in what we call the rebuild year at 0-8. But they did score a couple touchdowns, so we'll talk about that. Vinton County had River Valley last week. Of course, Vinton County 391 yards total, or rushing, 421 yards total. Defense had a couple fumble recoveries and a pick 6. Vinton County scores 48 points in the first half. But the bright spot for River Valley, and we kind of talked about this when they played us, they do have some athletes, and they managed to put up a score in the second and third quarter. So Coach Coop's got some bright things ahead of him, I think.
Yeah, they do have some good athletes, and they have a lot of work to do down there. And there's a lot of good talent down there. The one thing I know they do is they lose athletes to other schools. So I know Coach Cooper's working hard to keep guys there. And it's hard to build a program when you can't keep your guys there. So I know he's working hard, and you see those guys in the field. They've got some good athletes. They're just young, so I expect them to come out next year and really make a big difference next year.
Yeah, year after year, just keep building for Scott. I think he's a good coach. He's a good man, and he's a Wellston guy. So
Wellston guy,
yeah,
sure.
I think the only guy that they're going to lose offensively from a skill position standpoint is Mason Browning, the quarterback, is a senior. But I think Fulton is their backup guy. He's kind of a part-time running back, wide receiver now. So they got some pieces in place. But good to see them get points on the board, man. I mean, they've been shut out a bunch. So, we've talked about how Wellston needs to take the little wins when you can get them.
Right.
And I think that's, what River Valley's got to do now is just take the bright spots.
We're in what week we in right now? Week 7?
Coming up on 9.
On 9.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm way off. I went to Charlotte this weekend. So I lost a couple weeks of my life. But I mean, we're at this point in the season. I mean, they're getting better. I absolutely believe in that, and they've been grinding every day in practice, and those kids are putting the work in down there. So they should be proud of what they've done so far this season. Wins and losses don't mean everything every year.
Right.
As long as they keep getting better, transitioning into next year. This fall, this winter time really hit the weight room hard.
Yeah.
That stuff matters.
Of course,
Coach Molihan knows how important that stuff is.
Oh, yeah.
And this is Scott's first year down there as a head coach, correct?
Yeah. No, second year, I think.
Second year?
Is it?
I'm not sure.
First or second?
Second year.
Second year, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, so
anyway,
they're building.
Still getting used to the system. So a lot of kinks to work out, but some bright spots for River Valley there. But of course, with Vinton County, we talked about Vinton County's defense all year long.
I can guarantee you, another Wellston guy, Coach Phillips, was not happy about the 12 points in the second half. He wants teams, being the defensive coordinator that he is and the competitor that he is, he wants them to score negative points. You know, there's no feel-good points, you know.
Yeah, he wants to score touchdowns from the defensive side of the ball.
And they've done, man, I tell you what, they've really done a good job defensively
Yeah.
up there. You know, Coach Carper, you know, and him work well together. And then all the other coaches that they bring. It's a good program. You know, it's going to be a great program for years to come.
Yeah, they're controlling the ball, controlling possessions, and their defense is really, really tough. So, I mean, they're a really tough football team.
Yeah,
I mean,
and of course, Coach Phillips, he's a fundamentals guy, and he's big on the little things. And I know that's something coaching for him, playing for him, that he preaches. And I guarantee you, that's the big improvement you've seen from them this year defensively. Is they were the last 2 years they've had pretty good defense, and their DBs have played lights out. They probably led the league in picks last couple of years. But this year, I think overall defensively, they're probably going to lead the league just defensively stats, just because how well they're coached.
yeah. Coach Phillips is relentless.
He is.
He's going to be after those guys until they get it right.
And he lives.
You know, that's just how Coach is.
And he's when Coach Phillips gets in on a Friday night, he's going to go home. He's going to watch film, and he's going to watch film Saturday and Sunday, and he's going to game plan all weekend. So there's probably no one more prepared than Coach Phillips.
Yeah.
So,
Anybody that isn't familiar with Coach Phillips, one thing you need to know is this guy is 90 miles an hour,
right,
100% of the time. I mean, you talk about intensity, and that's the way this defense is playing. Of course, Coach Carper doing what he wants to do on offense. Run.
He's one of those 5 a.m. guys.
Yeah.
You know, he gets up early. He gets in the weight room. He puts his work in early before school every day, and you know.
If you look at Coach Phillips, you think he's 40 years old, and in reality, I think he's 61 or 62 years old.
Yeah,
maybe even older than that.
He's like my dad's age, I think.
Yeah, he does a great job staying in shape and keeping that edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll move on to the next one. Nelsonville beats Alexander 33-0. Interesting in here, poor Jared Schultz. I mean, we talked about this kid all year. Can absolutely sling a rock. I mean, this guy can throw the football. Was sacked 7 times. And Nelsonville holds them to negative 5.4 yards rushing. And they only have 54 yards passing. It's hard to win ball games.
They was behind the 8 ball the whole game, so they was dropping back, and they was putting the pressure on them. And, when you get yourself in a hole like that, it makes defense a little easier, and it makes it a little harder on the offense because you got to put points up quick just to get back in the game.
Yeah.
And, I'd say a lot of those sacks probably went to that, I'd say. I mean, they're a good football team, obviously, but –
well, it's similar struggles that they faced against us.
Yeah.
When you got programs like River Valley and Alexander who struggled for a few years now, what happens is that when you get these players who are good athletes that they show up and they play well in the B League, and then even in junior high maybe they're still playing well. A lot of times they may transfer out before they get to high school to a program that that is more appetizing, that maybe they feel like sets them up for better success. So it's hard for programs like River Valley and Alexander to keep their athletes in there. You look at this guy; he could start on any team right now in the TVC. Maybe in Southern Ohio he's that good, but he just keeps getting beat up. And it's like it's one of the best high school quarterbacks that didn't happen because of he don't have anything around him to help out.
Open enrollment's a real
he's a good
thing,
quarterback.
Open enrollment is a real thing, and I mean. The guidelines, that's kind of gotten easier over the years for people to make these moves.
Right.
They want to, just like in college football. So with the, excuse me, I just spit everywhere. With the transfer portal and everything, it's kind of mirroring that to a certain degree.
Well, and school districts really got to work hard to give kids a reason to want to stay. And if you do have a struggling program, at least like last year we struggled, but you look at our program this year. We're kind of getting off course here, track, but look at the progress we've made this year. So our kids can look the next year and say, hey, listen, things are getting better. Things are going in the right direction. So you keep kids here, and maybe even get some of those kids that are looking for a place to feel like that they can call home. So I got off course there. Sorry, Pete.
No, that's
100%. Yeah,
this is all part of the picture, and it's kind of this late in the year. We're kind of talking about the way things have taken shape, and
these thoughts are coming into play. With things for the upcoming year.
Right.
Even, so.
Well, you look at Winters down in River Valley. Matt and I coached against him when he was in 7th grade, and we went down there. Typically, when we played River Valley, we didn't have to do a lot of scouting. You get in there, we just play our game, and a lot of times you walk away with a win. We go down there, and this guy, we show up, and he's just throwing the ball all over the field like he's a high school varsity quarterback, and it's like, who's this guy? And then, like, this guy's going to be good. Well, next thing you know, he transfers to Jackson.
Yeah.
And then, of course, look what he does in Jackson. Then he goes, now he's at OU on their roster. So it's tough for schools who are struggling to keep kids there. And so, and we talk about a lot of times, sports rules the roost. I mean, you look at everything we do is revolved around sports. Our weekends revolve around sports. All right, the Buckeye game's on. The Alabama, whoever game's on.
Yep.
The Notre Dame game. We make our life around this sports, and so it goes to say that we need to put focus on that. Our schools need to put focus on that and make sure they give every small school give their kids the opportunity to have the best experience possible.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and not to
Said it well there.
Since we're rabbit trailing here, I'll jump down
jump
one
in
line
there. Yeah.
here. Another big part of that is we live in a economically depressed area.
Yes.
Poverty level's a little bit worse here than it is other places. And sports is an opportunity to get a kid some college paid for. There's partial athletic
Right.
scholarships. You got walk-on opportunities where they can earn a scholarship later. Of course, I know my daughter went to she's not playing softball now, but she did a one-year scholarship at Rio. Got a little bit of help from the softball team. So that speaks to your point. You have
Right.
to do things to keep kids around and do things that are going to support
Sports,
them if
sports
they do
teach
want
a
to
whole
go to that
nother
next
level of discipline.
Yeah,
it does.
And it's a learning how to be a part of a team. All these things are things that you learn if you learn in sports, but you can take that to the workforce once you get
Yeah.
out or once you get to college. So
and the more kids you got playing sports, the more academically eligible they're going to have to remain. So it just helps
Absolutely.
everything across the board. If you
Yeah.
raise your standard in sports, it raises the standard across the board.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I think our football program is going in the right direction, so I'm excited for that. And
Yeah.
but I think a lot of times people are like, well, sports aren't that important. Well, think about our lives. Think about your week. What is it? It's sports.
What brings joy to your life?
Yeah, I mean,
You know what
just
I'm saying?
sports. And
Yeah.
so, and what can, you look at I'll go up to a rabbit trail here. You look at every small town around here. Jackson, what are they known for? Football. Berg, football. You look at Ironton's football.
Yeah.
So every town around here has a reputation based off of sports. And when you bring someone to Wellston, like from Nelson, for example, and they come into Wellston, a lot of times people aren't going to come to Wellston for any other reason than to watch their loved one play football or basketball. So how that team performs on the field is a direct reflection of our community. So it only goes to say that basically you raise that standard, and then it makes your community respectable.
Yeah.
The
whole community's
it
got a little
does.
bounce in their
When
step.
people say,
Come
hey,
rock and serve
when you
line.
hear
Yeah.
Berg, when you hear Jackson, people are like, ooh. I don't care about their about anything, but that they're respectable from a sports aspect because they have high expectations. And then when that happens, then your whole community everybody else gets raised up along with it. So anyway.
Yeah, we got a good coach in place.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see him here and for years
Right.
to come, build the program up, and really that tradition is
Right.
going to build off of that and carry us. I think coaches, I'm excited for the future for us. These guys are really playing hard this season. I got to watch the first 3 quarters of this last game, and we played our hind ends off. You know, we really played well. Coaching staff did a good job integrating. I know I'm getting off topic. We're not talking about this later,
Well,
but-
Coach Graham said that at our first show. He's like, it's nice to join a good winning program, but it's even better to build one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he said that from our first show, and so we've seen every week progress. There's been some stuff. Nobody's going to agree
We've had
with
some
everything.
injuries, and,
Yeah.
and the coaching staff's done an excellent job putting these guys in place where they need to be,
especially defensively. Yep.
Switching it up into the Wildcat in certain situations, it's really been effective for us. And freshman quarterback, it's looking real sharp out there. He's making. I'm not worried about those mistakes. He's
Right.
playing well.
Yeah.
You can live with those.
Yeah, you live with that.
Yeah.
And we're getting better each week. We looked real good last week throwing the football and running the football.
And our kids play with a good attitude. They don't, they don't have a bunch of stupid personal fouls. They're walking off the field with their head held high. They go down. They keep playing hard to the very last whistle. That's something said a lot about the coaching staff. They're playing hard for the coaches and each other. So, all right,
Absolutely.
Pete, we'll let you get back
Okay,
to
so
control
we've
of the same.
explored all the rabbit trails. We're coming back home now. Just to finish up Nelsonville, Alexander. Nelsonville doing what they do. They're going to start to lean on Gavin Richards more. He had 156 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 9.2 a carry. I think Mekhi Williams had a rushing touchdown, but he only threw for about 47 yards, give or take, or something like that. But it's been a Gavin Richards show the last few weeks, and if you've got a running back down the stretch that you can really start to lean on, and if you watch him, he's not a real big kid. I think he tops out about 175 pounds. He's about 5'10", 5'9", somewhere in there, but he's fast and he's durable, and so Nelsonville's going to lean on them. We'll cover these next 2 games. We got Meigs Marietta and Athens Wellston coming up. We're going to take a break. We went a little bit long on that one. So my Matt Petersen, Nate Molihan, Jordan Lackey, we'll be back with you here in just a few minutes. In Wellston, Ohio for Thursday Night Lights. Of course, we always want to give a special shout out to Keith and Wendy Henry
Yes.
for sponsoring the show, giving us a place to hang out here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Guys, the weather
Perfect.
refuses to get bad. I love it. You know, we figured by this time of the season, you know, we'd be out here in long sleeves and
Like we're in South Carolina right now, don't we?
right. But yeah, it's been very comfortable. It's very nice. Got a decent crowd out this evening. Got some people eating, chilling out with us. So thanks again, Keith and Wendy, for sponsoring the show.
Absolutely.
So we'll continue our league
It's been a
recap.
pleasure all season so far.
Yeah, great hosts, great hosts. So we'll continue with the league outlook here. Marietta beats Meigs 48-15. Man, you talk about Meigs has just really been up against it. I think a lot more than a lot of people thought. You know, they got a senior quarterback that's more than capable, Griffin Cleveland, but they've been banged up, man. They've had a lot of injuries. I think that was a lot of the problem this game here. But poor Griffin Cleveland threw 2 picks. They tried a halfback pass with Conley Burnham. He threw a pick. Then they had a block punt. When they got that much stuff going against you, man, it's
Yeah.
it's hard to win. Of course, Marietta's capitalizing on those mistakes. Cleveland, though, bright spot, did have 121 yards passing. But, man, Meigs gave up 34 in the second quarter.
That's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple teams is probably familiar with each other. They're kind of close
Similar
in
area,
proximity.
yeah.
So I mean, that's probably a big game for Meigs to want to try to win. You
Yeah.
know? But you know, I don't know what their numbers are like, but I'm sure they're probably similar to ours. You know, but when you start having injuries like that, man, and
hurts you.
your numbers aren't great, you know, next man up. You know, sometimes you got a guy, sometimes you don't. You know,
Yep.
to come and respond and make plays. So I get it.
Of course, they missed Griffin. I can't remember if that was week 2 or 3. He went out the opening series of that game, missed the whole game with a shoulder problem. So fortunately, he's been able to come back, play most of his senior year. But that's a guy that you hope you can lean on for some wins. And unfortunately for Meigs, it just hasn't panned out for him this year. Marietta's not in our area, so I'm not real familiar with them or
Yeah.
what kind of year they're having. But I think a lot of people expected Meigs to put up a better showing than they did. Similar to us, I think we've talked to Coach Graham about this. We have a problem with self-inflicted wounds sometimes, and throughout the season, I think that's been a lot of Meigs' problem too. You see the picks here, block punt. I think there was one game that had a couple of muff kickoffs. I mean that kind of stuff there. It's just like Nate said. Once you get behind the 8 ball like that, and then you give up a big quarter, man, it's just hard to clean that up.
Going back to 2000, I think right at 2000, according to the website, we won 13 times. They've won 9 times. So the series is pretty level between us and Meigs. It's kind of like our programs are kind of mimic each other.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Size, very
Right.
similar types of kids. You
Yeah.
know, good athletes in both programs throughout the history. I mean, a lot of really good athletes, a lot of good running backs, quarterbacks. All the way down the line. So whenever I, in my mind, every time we went to go play Meigs, it was going to be a tough football game.
It's going to be physical.
And those guys will go all the way to the edge
Right.
and beyond
Yeah.
to get that win. But, that's what we do too here in Wellston.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes sense.
And I think, just like Meigs, Wellston over the years is even though we may not win every game, they know they've been in a battle. We got and we'll hit them hard and
100%.
we'll play physical.
Yeah, and I don't know what you say. I mean, it's tough.
Well, and things have changed over the years too. Is the game at home this week?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be in Wellston.
So going down there back in the day at the old field,
Back in the holler.
I mean, they packed you in this little tiny locker room. Shoulder to shoulder. Some people couldn't even get in the locker room. You know what I mean? So that was a mental test anyway. Getting ready. Bumping into guys. You're not having any room, and then going out there on that field, and their fans always come to, bring it. So. It's a tough environment. So hopefully this Friday night, our fans will come out, and it's a big TVC game for us. Everyone, we got to get a win on. So.
And we're going to shove them in a small locker room.
Exactly. I think it's still bigger than when they. It was like a little narrow hallway.
I remember that
it was
locker
bad.
room. Yeah. And of course, it just get ice cold, even though it could start out 60 degrees. But
It always
the game,
rains,
it
it
was
seems like,
it was
during
just
that game.
miserable.
Yeah.
Fall on the field.
Yeah.
Well, you remember, Matt, the time we went down there, we was on the staff with Coach Phillips, and me and Scott Cheatham would be on the sidelines most games, and the weather was miserable all year long. And Matt was up in the press box with the coaches up there,
Coach Reinhardt,
and keeping stats and just helping track plays. And so we're down on the sideline, we're looking up at Matt, and he's in the warm, and I called him Penthouse Petersen was his nickname. And so he's down there just kind of, smiling real big. I mean, Cheatham's in there freezing. So one time we show up at Meigs, and the wind, it's just rain blowing sideways. I mean, it was sleet. It was
like that all the
miserably
time, it
cold.
seems like.
And Matt's like, boys, feel sorry for you guys tonight. And next thing you know, we look at Matt. He's on top of the press box. The whole game is where they had to stand. And so we always give him a hard time about that. So,
Hurricane force winds.
he knows
Sleet
about bad
hitting you in the
weather.
face. Denny Reinhardt looked like an Eskimo, man. he was bundled up. I think I had a medium weight coat on with the toboggan, man. It just wasn't cutting it. So. Nate's been waiting to tell that story this week.
that was.
You want to squeak
Yeah,
that
little
in there?
file.
Yeah, Denny was. Dennis Reinhardt, he was a seasoned veteran.
Yeah. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the rest of the league. Now we'll kind of talk about the one we don't really want to talk about. Athens takes out Wellston 48-27. I don't think any of us saw that coming, guys. If I had to sum up that game in one sentence, it'd be death by 1,000 cuts. That's kind of what it felt like. Braden Young, 16 of 21, 196 yards. I don't think he threw a ball farther than 12 yards.
No, he just threw, of course, and down. Of course, the bubble screens they would throw, they did a great job blocking, and being physical on the edge, blocking out space. It's not easy, being a wide receiver. Jordan, how hard that is.
Yeah.
Getting out there in space. But their wide receivers did a really good job. They're very physical on our guys, and so they had a lot of success there. On the bubble screens, like Matt said, they didn't throw a ball past 12 yards. They threw a lot of ball out in space, and then of course their edge blockers were doing a good job giving them some room to run.
Yeah, it's some of the hardest, as a defensive back, those are some of the hardest plays to defend.
Yeah.
Because you still have to have discipline for the run game. You still have to have discipline for all the other things that you are responsible for too. And then you got to go react to something out in space. And if you see that if you're playing safety and you see the corner miss the tackle, and I got to make that tackle, or they're going home for 6. You know what I mean? So. Each tackle is important. We got to make tackles, and we got to get through those stock blocks, and make plays. And playing teams like that. Whenever I played, Waverly was a team like that. They threw the ball all the time. They had targets all over the field. It was really hard to defend. But it's a test that we done pretty good at throughout the first half, and then as the second half went on, we kind of came out of it a little bit and lost maybe a little bit of discipline throughout the second half. I don't know. I didn't watch the second half. I watched the first half, but I thought we played pretty well throughout the first half of that football game.
Well, one of the things that we talked about on the radio broadcast, we felt like we waited just a little bit too long to start playing bump coverage. When you got guys, absolutely, I mean, he's throwing bullets. He said they know how to throw those screen balls, those little bubbles, and he's getting the ball out fast. We had corners, halfway through the second quarter, they're still playing 7 to 10 yards off, and that's, you catch a bullet screen like that, you're 7 yards a pop every time. They average 12.5 a catch
and
on the night.
I think their coaching staff was seeing our DBs, because what they were doing is, even when we'd be lined up 10
They
yards
made an
off,
adjustment
our
first, yeah.
DBs were, even before the snap, even though they're almost 10 yards off the ball, they're backpedaling before the snap. And so that's an easy call for offensive coordinator. Hey, if you see that guy do that, just throw the ball out there. It'd be wide open. There's no way that guy's going to come up and be able to defend that. At least get 2, 3, 4 yards out of it.
And that style of offense is these guys' number one go-to thing, so they're working on these patterns, these timing patterns, relentlessly.
Right.
So, that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, take what the defense gives you.
Yeah.
And but our guys played tough, man. They almost come back and made a big, and we had some. I hate to dog the refs, but we've seen some suspect
Oh my goodness.
crews throughout the year, and seems like every time we have a good momentum or some momentum going in a game, a big holding call or something, like we intercepted the ball and almost ran back for a touchdown, and there was a holding call that was like 10 or 15 yards behind the guy running the ball. And it's like, that didn't affect the play.
Yeah.
I mean, if he did hold, that didn't affect the play. I mean, don't let that. A lot of times these refs have been the ones who have been the big play factors in the games for us. It's kind of killed our momentum anytime we get momentum. So hopefully coming this week we can get a break and just get a win.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was very hard for us to kind of find any offensive rhythm. Now, you don't look. If you look at the numbers, it doesn't seem that way. Wes Briggs 9 of 19, so about I think 47% completion, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a couple of picks. Seth Lambert 16 carries, 70 yards. Mason Collins 16 carries, 94 yards. Of course, Cale Fott 4 catches, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And I know one of those picks that I saw in the first half. I mean, the more experience that young man's going to have, that one over there, he just kind of misread the coverage a little bit, and that kid jumped that route, and he made a play on it. But, I mean, I went back and watched that play a couple times, and I probably would have threw the ball there too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he made a horrible read. That kid made a pretty good play on the football.
One right there in front of the bench?
Yeah.
Well, if from our ankle, it looked like when Wes let go of that ball, it left his hand funny and almost had a weird spin, so it didn't have the zip that it normally would.
He was like throwing it across his
so
body
it was,
or something.
Yeah, delayed just a little bit, let that DB to jump in front.
Yeah.
But, he's playing very well. For a freshman being put in the position he is, I don't think we could have asked for anything more from that young man.
Hey, we've had a ton of quarterbacks, come through Wellston, and good quarterbacks, Jordan being one of them. Mm-hmm. And I hate to, my son being one of them. But I, of course, Lawrence Usley, Jeremiah Frisbee, all these good quarterbacks
Sean
back in the
Bisher
day,
was in
Sean
that group,
Bisher, all these. But I honestly believe, you look at Wes Briggs and the ability, you look at his size. A lot of times in the past, someone his size gets put on the line. He don't get a chance to play quarterback. So you look at his size, he looks like, we call him Big Ben up there. I mean, he definitely has potential to be one of the very best if he keeps working hard.
I agree.
If we keep putting him in good positions.
Kind of reminds me of Dusty Foltz back there.
Yeah,
back
Big Dusty.
Back whenever Dusty used to play quarterback.
I remember.
He had a great arm, He threw me quite a few passes, touchdowns. And,
Yeah.
But, yeah, Mr. Briggs, he's looking good out there, man. Keep working. Maybe in the offseason get some agility training in, just help his feet a little bit. But he's looking good. I'm sure Coach will be all over that.
Yeah, got a bright future with the offense.
When you look at those offensive numbers for Wellston, I mean, it doesn't look like a bad game. But the tempo of it and the way things went, it kind of felt like we got big plays when we needed them, but it was just too little too late or not timed the right way. We just could not find that rhythm.
Getting big stops on third down, making them have to go to third down.
And how many third and long did we see
defensively?
I mean,
getting big stops is important.
A lot of times all year long, there's been like a third and longer, 10+ yards, and we've seen teams pick up first downs on us.
Yeah.
And I know that's just growing pains and things that just guys getting to know. Don't forget about what your assignment is. Just play assignment football.
Yeah.
Just play your area and don't overplay something. Because a lot of times when there's third and long plays, you have a quarterback that may scramble, and guys may get too antsy and leave the backside wide open. So anyway, and the good thing is we saw at the game is like they made this a game clear down to the very last minute, because they kept fighting, coming back, and that's all you can ask for as a team, that they didn't lose their fight and they kept grinding. And that's something you can build on.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the things I wanted to mention, that I felt like was a major turning point, was we had, I think it was supposed to be some kind of a squib kick or something, and nobody fell on it. And Athens wound up recovering it on our like 35.
I think it caught everybody off guard, and instead of jumping on it, we all just kind of stared at it, and
we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I can't remember who was on that side. It might have been Grayson Seitz, who's a younger. I think, was he a sophomore?
I think so.
So he's got some experience ahead of him still. I think he was banking on it going out of bounds, and in his defense, it looked like it was headed that way.
Right.
And I don't know if there was just a little blade of grass that was a little taller than the rest of them or what, but it stopped. And before you know it, Athens comes in. But I thought that was a major momentum swing.
That was, because we just had a big touchdown.
Yeah.
You know, and then
so
back and
all that being said, we're going to take a break. Coach Graham will be on here with Josh Clarkson and Landon Hypes. When we come back, we'll talk to those guys. And then our last segment, I don't think we'll do game picks tonight. I didn't do any research. Some substitute producers. That's another thing I want to hats off to my brother, Paul Petersen, my brother-in-law, Donnie Moeller, for helping us out. Mike Gray had some previous engagements. I guess his sister's getting married to Jeremiah Frisbee.
Yeah.
Former
Saturday.
quarterback.
He better be there.
Right. So
Big Frizz.
So they got some planning and stuff going on. So Paul and Donnie, thanks for helping out, producing the show tonight. With that, we'll take a break. I'm Matt Petersen, Nate Molihan, and Jordan Lackey. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here. Thursday Night Lights live at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston, Ohio. Matt Petersen, Nate Molihan, Jordan Lackey, and special guest tonight, Landon Hypes, offensive lineman for the Golden Rockets, and Josh Clarkson. He does still play for the Golden Rockets.
the club.
Good to have him back. So we're going to talk to these guys, get some thoughts. I know, Nate, you were a big advocate for having Landon on the show, man.
Yeah.
Offensive linemen are often unsung heroes, and this guy does an absolutely fantastic job. I don't know if we could get him to stand up for the camera, but he is not a small guy.
Kid.
Can you stand up?
Yeah, I can stand up.
You guys stand up next to him, Josh, and just show how big you are. There we go.
So who blocks for who?
Yeah, guess who's who. Yeah, and Coach Graham last week had brought up, about Landon being just a kid who does everything. And, of course, being a coach, me and Matt coached middle school for 4 years, and we're always big on character. And character is huge. Like when you go out in the ball field, or I don't care if you go wherever you're going, but when you represent your school and you do it in the way that you do it, it's impressive. And it makes us feel good watching you go out there and do the things the right way. And plus, you're a big guy who moves really well. I got a buddy, it's one of my best friends named Scott Cheatham. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah.
And you remind me a lot of him. He had really good footwork, and he can move around, and then he really cleared out a lot of space for runners. So it's got to be, we talk about our line. Our line has been dominant all year long. There's been times when our line has really played really, really good against teams like Fairland, Portsmouth West, and Minford, really good teams. And, and so there's so much potential there. And then, of course, what we watch, we see someone like Josh and then Hunter, and then Seth, who of course, size difference there. You got these big linemen, and they kind of get behind you guys and are patient and hide, and then you guys do a good job keeping the line or the D off from them, and they, of course, get nice big runs. But it's good to see someone like you out there doing what you do and do it with the character that you do, because character is big for me. And so I want to say thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah. Now, have you been playing since 7th grade?
Yeah.
So the experience is kicking in at this point.
Yep.
So you're a junior, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
junior.
So get both of these guys back.
That's awesome, yeah.
So along with Gage Goheen. So how does that feel playing with a solid line that you know you're going to get back next year?
I think that our line will be like 2 times better than it is now next year. I think we have a chance of winning just about every game next year. Like, I think we'll be on top.
Yeah.
Like, I think we are doing like really well this year. Like, I feel like, but like last year we didn't do so well. I feel like it was because we were young.
Yeah.
We didn't really know much.
That year matters.
Yeah. Like this year, I feel like I needed to do a better job of getting second level. Knowing Gage can control his guy and getting second level. I think we'll do good next year.
Awesome.
That's big at the second level, and what a lot of people may not know about that. So the goal of the defensive line is to keep you off the linebackers. That way it frees the linebackers up for making the tackle. And so if you can get off that line and get to the linebackers, and that gives these guys extra space to run. So you guys do a really good job of that. I mean, really do. It's impressive. Like I said, you guys come out against Nelsonville. I mean, and it's like, wow, we were definitely looked like the better team out there. And so there's a ton of potential. Like you said, I mean, the sky's the limit for you guys.
Yeah. Now, are you starting to take more of a leadership role now
Yeah, kind of.
with some of these young guys? Because I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a big piece. Coming into next year, of course, you guys will be seniors when you leave. What are you doing to leave a good legacy for these younger kids?
Like at practice, whenever we do like scout team and stuff, or like they try to fill in positions just to see, I try and help, like tell the guys what to do if they need help, or they can come talk to me if they need help, or if they need shown how to do something, I can try to show them the best I can.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we used to preach, Nate, when we coached was culture.
Yeah.
And how to get these guys on the same page. And a lot of times programs vary. You get some groups that aren't as disciplined as others, and you kind of get this separation between the older guys and the younger guys, and the younger guys just kind of get left. So it's nice to see guys like Landon and Gage stepping up and trying to build that. And I think hats off to Coach Graham, because I'm sure that's something that he constantly sows into these kids as well.
We talked about, of course, we always talked about family. A lot of kids on a football team, a lot of them don't have friends. A lot of them don't have families. I mean, we live in an area, like Matt said earlier, that's been struck by a lot of families who are broken up, and a lot of kids, grandkids are being raised by grandma, grandpa, aunt, and uncle, and a lot of them don't have a good home life, and a lot of them don't have friends. And so when you are on the football team, you immediately got 40 good friends. And that's one thing we always hammered on. Is like, listen, when you go, you may not like this guy, but when you pass him in the hallway at school, you better fist bump him. Because that right there creates that culture that I got your back. And then when you go out in the field on Friday night, you're just going to play that much harder for everybody. And then what that does too is everyone's like, hey, listen, look at those guys. I want to be a part of that. It's magnetic, and you create that energy, and everybody's like, hey, I want to be a part of that team. Next thing you know, you got 60 guys on your sideline, and that's something that, I don't know. And I can go on and on and on, but you guys, go ahead, Jordan.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the effort you're putting in out there, it's not unnoticed. We're seeing it. Josh, can't wait to see you back out there carrying the ball a little bit, buddy, whenever you get a chance. But, man, just like they're saying, the camaraderie that you guys can instill in these young guys and just help that evolve for the rest of this season on to next year, putting the work in the weight room like I know you're going to. It's all going to pan out for you guys. I believe that, and I'm proud of everything you guys have done so far this year. So keep it up, all right?
Thank you.
Maintain and gain.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
So, Landon, from your perspective from last year to this year, what has been some of the biggest challenges for you as a lineman, and as far as keeping the culture the right way, or going in the right direction?
Last year, obviously, I didn't get much playing time from senior year on varsity, and then last year got stuck there, and I didn't know, like, it's a big difference from JV to varsity.
It is.
And so, like, you got to know, like, technique, you have to have it against them
Right.
guys on the line, and then, like, coming in from last year to this year, we just worked heavily on feet, under the chute. We did all that right. Me and Gage, we've always talked about it. Like in the locker room, we're always talking about something we can do better, something to make us better, something to make the team better, and then.
And you guys are making each other better as you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then these young guys are watching you, and you're like, man, look how hard these guys are working. I want to be like these guys. I remember being a young guy in the locker room being like, man, you know, I want to be like those guys, you know. And, you know, if you work hard, you'll get there, you know. And that's just, you're setting that for the younger guys, even the junior high guys looking up at you.
And what you do is more important than what you say, because no matter what, kids around you will do what you do. They will see what you do more than they hear what you say. So how you do, the way you treat other players, younger players, that's how you set the culture. And that's how, I mean, you can sit there and hammer all day long, well, we need to do this and you do that. But what you do is what they're going to do.
Yep, I try to do the best at everything I do on the field. I try not to get penalties. I try to do everything correct. Try to make it good as we can.
That's big. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
and
what
and
builds
it's
a
not
solid
always
line.
going to
Yeah.
all go great. And
that's
then you deal with the adversity. And how you going to deal with that? They're looking at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
And then you have the ability to,
Good
when
job.
you, as a team, when you guys work so hard to come from where we were last year to this year, to put the effort to get the credibility built up, and then that just probably makes you that much more probably want to hold other people accountable. Hey, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to shut your mouth, get back in the huddle.
Yep.
You know, we don't do that. We're you know, so that's what we've seen. You guys keep fighting to the end, and character's been there. So
absolutely.
Well, one thing that a lot of people don't understand about football, the line is not easy.
Oh, it's
you
the
have
toughest spot.
You have to be athletic. You have to be big. You have to see a lot of things going
gotta be
on. at
smart.
once. You got to be very
You have
smart.
to hang your hat on technique, just like you said. I mean, your technique with the hard work you put in the off season all comes together
And I think that's one of the
out
biggest
on the football field.
One of the biggest disservices of the game of football is that these guys don't get a lot of the credit. You see guys like Josh and Seth, they break a big run. It's
Right.
oh yeah, Josh got another touchdown or whatever, but it happens because of this guy and Gage Goheen and those guys.
That's exactly right.
Landon, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
It's been awesome talking to you. We'll move on to Josh now. Haven't seen a lot of you as much as we thought we would. So tell us what happened in Oak Hill with the hand, because you played on that broken for 2 games.
Yeah, sometime during the first quarter, went to make a tackle. I think personally that my hand just got caught between 2 helmets, broke it, didn't realize, taped it up. Going into Fairlands, maybe had a little crack in it. Went in there, took a couple hits again. I think it just shattered from there. Swollen, didn't go down. Pain kind of got worse. So I was like, oh well, should probably get an X-ray. With the X-ray, it's broken, it's shattered. It was bad. So going in, just wanted to make sure I could heal it properly, trying to get back. Because I knew some of the guys depended on me, so I wanted to get back and really help them out through the process this season.
Well, I know from our perspective, in the booth, it felt like the defense was starting to gel a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're gone, and they've got to try some different alignments, got people playing out of position, and your absence was noticed, especially in pass coverage and shutting down that outside. And one of the things that we talk about a lot, and I've told these guys and people I talk to out in town, is you got such a good football IQ. So it's nice to see you back, even if you had the club. Against Nelsonville, you pretty much have a present gift wrapped thrown right at you, and you did everything you could to haul it in, it just wasn't happening.
how frustrating was that for a ball to hit you right in the chest and you can't catch it?
Well, usually I usually catch those passes. In practice, I'm always trying to work on, even with the club, trying to grasp the ball. Working on my coverages. I saw that ball coming. I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna finally get a pick 6.
He would have scored.
And just so frustrated as I saw it hit my face mask and fall to the ground. I was mad.
It reminded me of being a little kid with mittens trying to pick a quarter up off the ground. You out there like, or. Yeah.
I think it was that game. There was a similar play in great position, so you're where you're supposed to be, and you just couldn't get the guy wrapped up, and Bennett had to come and help you drive him out of bounds.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately. Something like Athens. Can't really get my other arm around him. Couldn't really wrap all the way, so I needed some help getting him down.
So you got the cast off a little bit earlier than we thought you would. So you're going to have 2 games. You got Meigs and Vinton County coming up. How's the hand right now?
It's a little stiff every now and then. I get a little bit of pain, but still working on getting a full fist. I can catch. I can still move it. I can start to pick things up with it now. It doesn't really affect my game as much anymore because I still have a club, but I have to wear a brace. My fingers show. So I can start catching the ball. I can start running the ball a lot more. And it doesn't really hurt me more.
Nice.
It's more of just
That's
a
good.
mental thing.
So how's the grip strength? Because that's big running the ball.
It's really weak.
Yeah.
But I've worked a lot on technique on ball security. Every practice we work on it, offense and individuality, and other things like that.
Nice. Well, I know we talked to Seth last week, had him on the show, and I know you've been missed in that offensive scheme. Yeah, it was a big part of it. Mason's done a good job of stepping up, especially out of the Wildcat. That's where he's had most of his success.
Yeah.
You know, he'll bust long runs, so he may only have 7 or 8 carries, but you look at the end of the tape and he's got 80, 90 yards coming out of the Wildcat. So I think it'll be nice to not have to rely on that so much and use a 3-headed monster now. I'm having you back. So do you feel comfortable running the ball?
Yeah, I feel comfortable, especially on the right side where I have my strong arm. Will I probably let this affect me? Not much. I don't think it'll affect me that much.
Nice.
I have a really good line. They'll protect me. They'll keep me from taking big hits.
No pressure, Landon.
Yeah, especially him. He'll block for me good.
Nice.
For those who don't know, Josh dates Matt's daughter, Hannah. And so I think
He does?
And so during the broadcast, I think Matt sometimes maybe shows a little partiality to Josh. And there's one game he wanted to give Josh head of the game. I said he didn't even play, Matt.
That's
No,
not
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But he does have a lot of good stuff to say about Josh. Of course, dates his daughter and just his character. That's a big thing we talk about all the time, and just about how he treats his daughter and the respect he has, and I'm sure that just goes right on to the football player for Coach Graham, and it says a lot. And when you have a team that has character and then has heart, and then you will learn all the little technique stuff, you guys can go a long way, and the future's bright.
Yeah. Both of these guys coming back next year, man.
Excited, man. Get that hand healthy. Stay healthy, both you boys.
Yeah, you don't
We'll
get
try.
broke again.
How good does it feel to be back?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I had nothing to do except school and football.
Yeah,
Football's my life so far. I did nothing else but football.
it's an important part of your life, and and that's what we talked about earlier before you guys got here about how sports is such a big part of everybody's life, and so it's good to see that things are going well for you guys this year, and that the staff is doing what they need to help you guys out, put you in position to win, and so it's good to see. It's good fun to watch, and we've got 2 more games, and I'm going to say, when you walk out there in the field, don't take any play for granted, because here I graduated in 1995, and I would love one more time on the field, and it goes by so fast. And so if I had any advice, is every time you get out there, just kind of look around, look at the crowd, smell the grass, and just take it in, because you'll never feel that way again. On a Friday night, there's not a better scenario to be on that stage with all your fans out there, and you're the man or the men. You're the gladiators out there that's out there representing your town.
Yeah.
And it should give you cold chills when you walk out there like that. And just remember, one day that's going to end. It'll be sooner than later. So don't ever so on this off season, work harder than you ever worked. Get everybody out there in the weight room, recruit guys, get them out there, and push everybody around you, to get better, because that's when you're going to get good. Because you're not going to get good week 1 of next year's practice. You get better in spring and summer, and then when conditioning comes around, you're just sharpening your skills, and you guys come out and you're going to surprise everybody. And that's how you do it. So.
Awesome.
Well
Guys,
said, Coach.
thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to mention, we should have mentioned this last week when Seth was on here. These guys are real good buddies, and they work their tails off in the offseason.
Yeah.
I don't know, in a group of running backs, it's been a long time since we've had guys that put in the work in the weight room and do the things they need to do in the offseason, too. So, hats off to you for your work ethic. Thanks for coming on the show.
I'd like
Thanks,
to say
guys.
one more thing.
Yeah.
It was a big step up for Seth, too, from last year. We came a long way with that, too. Like running the ball.
Yeah.
Like Seth was not doing so well holding it. Like give a big play and then it'd pop out. He worked a lot on that. I like to recognize that.
Nice.
And that's big time right there.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's good that you're recognized,
lot.
because when you have another big thing is like a lot of times you find players are jealous of their other players' success. Like they don't want someone else to do good because they want to be the one to do good. So when you see guys, the comment that you just made, that says a lot about your team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great culture. Great
Absolutely.
culture. We'll talk to Coach Graham about that here in a
Yep.
little bit. So, Josh, thanks for coming on, man. Landon,
Yep.
give us all a handshake here. We'll take a break.
Got the big old Paul.
He does.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
See you, buddy.
All right, guys. That's our third segment. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Coach Graham, talk a little bit about the Athens game, and then looking forward to Meigs. and we'll get you out of here for the evening. I'm Matt Petersen, Nate Molihan, Jordan Lackey. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, Rocket fans, we're back here at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston, Ohio. Matt Petersen, Jordan Lackey, Nate Mollahan, and, of course, our weekly conversation with Coach Chris Graham. Coach?
How you guys doing?
Thanks
Coach.
for coming on
Doing
again,
good,
man.
Coach.
It's been nice talking to you every week. Kind of see how the season's developed. We were talking a little bit about in the break, just a lot of self-inflicted wounds. We felt like we had Athens where we wanted them.
Yeah, so unfortunate circumstances happened there. We kind of handed them over 3 touchdowns with that snap over the head in the first half there. Come out second half, we score, make it 19-14. We get a big stop. Then we have a penalty against us. They get to keep the ball. That was a big part of it. We were pretty much having our way up front at the time.
Yeah.
I thought we could have taken that ball and driven it down the field and scored, but they ended up scoring. And then the ensuing kickoff, we just handled the kickoff, and then things just start going downhill. So we kind of inflicted a lot of our scores on ourselves, I guess you should say. A lot of injuries to ourselves and just self-inflicted things.
It seems like, and I know we don't like to make excuses, but it seems like the refereeing is sometimes we get a big play and there's a suspect holding call almost every time we get a big play. And, like that big touchdown or the interception return, it didn't go for a touchdown, but it was down inside
fumble
the
recovery for a
or
touchdown.
fumble
Yeah.
recovery.
Right.
Went down inside the red zone. We would have recovered or took over the ball there. And then they call holding back, 10, 20 yards behind the play.
Right.
Like it didn't even have any, if it was a holding, it didn't have any effect on the play. And so we feel like a lot of times, I'm getting a lot of bad echo, so I'm going to take this earpiece out. But anyway, we feel like there's been a lot of times throughout the season when we get momentum, the refs kind of take it away from us sometimes.
Right. I hate to point fingers at officials. I'm never one to do that because officials, they take a lot of
Abuse.
Not an easy
abuse
job.
from
Right.
fans. There's no doubt about that. In that sense, I'm going to say that we need to play better.
Yeah.
I'm really not going to say, it's officiating here or there. We just got to play better and mistake-free football.
And
we still haven't done it all year. And, Landon and Joshua's up here, they can attest to it. Every practice, that's all we talk about. Is the perfect game. Is there a perfect game in high school football?
Never.
You know what I mean? But we're striving for that perfect game. And I think if we can ever play that perfect game or close to
Close
it,
to it as you can.
right, we're going to be more successful. And, we're about, sometimes we're 50%, and then maybe one quarter we're about 90%, then we drop back down to about 30%. If we can stay consistent, that's the thing with us is consistency, the snaps. So we made some adjustments on snapping. So we've been snapping differently this week for 3 days. So we're hoping that happened to us twice now.
Right.
So we're hoping we fix the problem there. And our center, Bryce Lambert, is a great kid, and he will do whatever you want him to do, and he'll try whatever because he wants to win also. That's kind of the mindset of our whole team, really.
And that makes you feel bad for him because he's a hard worker, does
Yes.
everything right. And the only time you see a center is when he does something wrong.
Right.
And that's a sad part of what we talked about the line. Line don't get the credit it deserves. But yeah, I mean, Seth has been solid all year long.
Coaches want that ball back there quick. You're watching it, most coaches, they're going to tell you, I want that snap back there quick so you can get in the flow of the offense. But sometimes it's coming back there so
About
fast.
90.
Right.
And, Jason Kelsey, there's actually Coach Seitz or somebody sent a TikTok out, said Jason Kelsey, who plays for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is his quarterback, and he said, Jalen Hurts said, I have to get way down in the stance because that thing's coming back at about 90 miles an hour. I don't know where it's going to be. I got to be ready to catch it.
Yeah.
And Kelsey asked him why he done it, and he said, because he wants his other hand back. It was actually pretty good.
Makes sense.
So Bryce was trying to use that excuse, and we cut that off right away.
You must have watched that Kelsey documentary on Netflix. Yeah.
The snap at Nelsonville, when that first drive, I mean, we were down inside the 20-yard line, and that went, I don't
About
know.
35 yards.
About
with
35
35
yards.
I mean, that
Total loss of 35 yards.
that was a velocity on that snap.
Yes.
So yeah, like you said, you could tell he's doing what he was told. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's not perfect back there. It's hard. Snapping a shotgun snap is not easy. You got guys that's on top of you. As soon as you snap that ball, your first step's got to be up, and you got to be ready to block. So getting that ball back there and being consistent as he has he's done a really good job of that.
And we switched things up. We're back to the dead man snap now. So all the coaches were researching all the snapping and best techniques, best forms, and of course we had 5 coaches coaching him up, and then we had to kind of ease back and kind of let one take charge, and he's got it down.
Yeah.
He's got it down now. That dead man snap comes back. It's more control. Quarterback can handle a little bit better. So we'll see how it works out.
And I think it's important what you just said, because sometimes coaches want to help. They're trying to do their best they can. But when you have 5 different people tell them 5 different things, it really confuses them. So I think it was very smart to say, hey, listen, this guy's going to be the one you listen to.
Right.
And no one else give him any more advice unless you go through the coach.
Right. And Coach Mantell, like I said, he worked with him a little bit. He was a center at Wheelersburg, so who better to teach him than a center?
Right. Right.
From a premier program like Wheelersburg anyway. So, and he's an outstanding coach. Coach Briggs, my whole staff really. I've got a phenomenal staff, really do.
And Bryce, now, if I understand things right, he didn't start the season as a center.
No, he was a strong guard.
Yeah.
He
So that's
was a
another thing to
strong
take
guard.
into consideration is, he's still trying to, get his own rhythm.
We've transitioned a lot of guys this year. Guys that were running backs and receivers, or linemen, tailbacks, to centers, to guards, to tackles. And I told him that coming in. The day I took the job, it was a week later, we had a team meeting, and I said, guys, you're going to be playing maybe where you don't think you're going to be playing. You'll be playing in different spots, and hopefully you take that role on, and it's a challenge, and they did.
Yeah.
And every one of those adjustments you made makes sense.
Absolutely.
It make perfect sense. I mean, just with the few adjustments you made last week with Wildcat in the red zone and that kind of stuff, man, hey, it looked good. I mean, they didn't know what was going. He did. Mason's got a little bit of quarterback experience. He did a good job with the handoffs and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't just one dimensional.
Right.
So
we have. I feel that we have, 3 or 4 really good running backs.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's more running backs than the Gavin Richards from Nelsonville's, and Garrett. Garrett's a great running back from Vic County, but we have some running backs of our own.
Oh yeah,
4 of them with Clarkson for one, Seth Lambert, and Mason.
yeah.
I think we got 3 of the best backs in the league also.
Yeah,
And they
absolutely.
run hard, and I'm really confident. I can say that our kids are are good running backs, and
Got Johnny Scott too. that's a
and
good
Johnny
running back.
Scott.
Yeah,
Johnny Scott. So
Yep.
we have a lot of
A lot of
good
talent,
things
a lot of
coming.
skill.
Yeah, a lot of good things on the rise. Put it that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and the numbers attest to that too. I think all those guys. Clarkson, jury's still out because he didn't have a lot of time. But I think before he went out, he was in the 5+ per carry club too. So
Yes.
I think Seth and Mason both are above that. Man, if you can hand a rock off to somebody and get 5 yards.
Oh yeah.
You're putting yourself in a pretty good position.
You can
to win
plug them
ball
in
games.
different spots too.
And,
And that.
I mentioned it last week. When Josh went out, Seth's been more of our bell cow all the way up to this point. So, and we're going to ride him. And then Mason's a good counter with you.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Well, then
Mason's quick and fast.
Wes Briggs, I know he's young and he has a lot to learn out there, but I tell you, he looks pretty good for a freshman. He has a lot of poise, and I'm sure some things on film that you've probably seen as a coach that you guys have talked about. But from the outside looking in, I tell you what, man, he is probably just a good-looking prospect. He reminds me of Big Ben out there.
Oh, yeah.
And he has a heck of an arm. He's accurate. The one pick he threw last week looked like to me the one that was thrown to Kel right in front of the bench there. It looked like the ball almost came off a little weird off his hand, but the ball was still where it needed to be. He's just a little bit behind. And, man, he has got a heck of a future in front of him.
He spins the ball well. He's got a good presence in the pocket. He doesn't tend to flush. He likes to stay there. He'll take a hit.
Yeah.
He'll take a hit, and he likes to throw it. That's
Yeah.
a good thing. And like I said, he throws a nice ball. But he's in that learning stage, that development stage where he's trying to read the defenses and things like that. And, it's good when you live with the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So me and Coach Briggs, we teach together, so we're always trying to use different things and move different places to help him read things a little bit better. So
Just make it
and he's
simple.
doing a phenomenal job at it.
he really
I'm really
is.
proud of him. And I told him there, it was, I have all the confidence in the world there. I wouldn't put you in there. I just run wild the whole time. So,
Right.
I've got tremendous confidence he can throw the football. And like I said, he's a very smart kid. He's very smart. And that's what you need to run your offense.
He looks pretty comfortable back
Yeah,
there.
he looks
He really
pretty
does.
comfortable.
Has a lot of poise.
Well, two starts, 200-yard games. 119 last week, 157. I'm sorry, the week before 119, 157 last week. So he's efficient.
Yes.
I mean, I think he's right around 47, 48%. I think we were getting 50% out of Johnny when he was there. So, I mean, as far as our quarterback play, I don't think you lose the running game.
Right.
With Johnny. West isn't as much of a runner. But as far as passing efficiency goes, I think we're We really haven't taken a step back.
Right.
You know, Cale Fott had a 100-yard game last week, so some good things happening on offense. You know, looking forward to Meigs. I feel like we felt like Athens was probably our best matchup. And I feel like, you know, to knock on wood, I think we're in the driver's seat, you know, with Meigs coming to town.
Yeah, we got to play well. Like I said, it's a mistake. We're not taking anybody for granted. Like I told you before, who are we to look past anybody? You know, so we're going at this like it's week 1, game 1, and we've got to win.
Yeah.
We've got to win. So that's our mentality, and it's going to be that mentality. It's one game at a time, one play at a time. I tell the kids before every game, every play is a game within a game.
Yeah.
And every play, did you win the game? And then I tell them to keep track of it.
Right.
Like Landon blocking, did he beat you? You lost that game. You know, did you make your block? Did you get to the second levels?
Yeah.
You know, Landon mentioned getting to the second level. Sometimes when you watch film, and then they catch it right off the bat. I got to the second level, but I didn't take care of the first level.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get
Right.
too big a hurry to get to the second level, and they can't get that initial block where they need to be, or sustain it for a little longer, then release.
Yeah.
But those guys, I mean,
It seems like they're focusing a lot on technique, and you know, really, I think that's the mental side of that is just as important as the physical, you know, stuff. You know, because getting your feet, I mean, knowing where you're supposed to go when the guy's lined up in front of you, all that kind of stuff. That's so important, you know. And it seems like we got the cognition to be able to maintain some
and
pretty
I'm going to
good.
give a lot of credit to Coach Mantell on that. You know,
Yeah.
he sits down there in the chute, and they go through all their drills. And then he teaches like a classroom down there.
Yeah.
We'll all be sitting around the chute. I'm like, what's he doing down there? Leaning on the chute again.
Yeah.
But he's actually teaching them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a lot of them like to play football, but to understand how to play football. And now the kids are starting to see, I see why I see that. I bet you I'm
Exactly.
walking here, aren't I? And they're like, oh, yeah. So everything starts to click. And, you know, Coach Mantell does an outstanding job with that from the teaching aspect.
Yeah.
He loves to teach it, and then they go into drills, and then, you know.
And we felt that
Yep.
when we coached that kids got more when they are comfortable. Like, and I don't take this wrong. There's a lot of old school coaches like, you don't take your helmet off. You leave your helmet on the whole time when we're talking. You know, but if a kid's uncomfortable, he's not listening to you. He's got a headache, his head hurts. So I think it's really big, like Coach Mantell says, does, is to take those kids, sit them down, and let them, and not sit them down, but get them in
Put
an
your arm
atmosphere.
around them, you know.
To where
you know what I mean?
they
Like,
can learn.
see what's going on.
Because if
Yeah.
the more comfortable they are, I mean, within reason, the more liable, more likely they're going to pick up what you're saying. I mean, if they're sitting, they got a helmet on, and they're about ready, got a headache, they're just thinking about when's practice over.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that, man.
I mean, if Coach Mantell tells you, hey, this is what we're supposed to do, and then you get out there on a Friday night and you see some success, you're like, shit, he knows what he's talking about. I
exactly.
better listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So same way with you, Coach. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's-
then when, like you said, look at the pedigree of Coach Mantell. You know, when people hear Willersburg, like their eyes come up, like, oh, Berg, you play for Berg.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so that's that
100%.
pedigree and that respect. You know, so it's big.
You know, back on Meigs, I told the coaches earlier this week, and actually for quite some time now, was, looking at Meigs on film and knowing Meigs itself, I think they're one of the most talented teams in the TVC. Mm-hmm. They're big, they're fast.
yeah,
You
good
know,
combination.
They're big and fast. It's hard to believe to me that they're 1-7.
Yeah.
If you watch them on film, it's like, how? I mean, they are good. I mean, they're playing some good teams, no doubt about it. But they are big and fast, and we're not taking that for granted. I mean,
Yeah, and as a
good.
coach, that's
Yeah.
how you got to
Really
look at it
fun,
because
right.
you want to beat them. You know,
They're-
and
they're
you're
monsters
looking at all their
across the line.
strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then they got McClellan as quarterback. I think Stewart, number 3, is a speed demon out of the backfield. He throws McClellan throws it well. He runs it well. I'm anticipating a big game for us.
and
an
and you're
exciting
looking
game.
and you're looking for one out of them too because
Yes.
they're hungry for a win.
Yes.
So
Our kids are hungry. So we're trying to breed that winning mentality, and I think the
Yeah.
kids are buying into it because now things. I don't know what it was like last year. Like I said, I'm not going to throw anything that way because
Right.
I don't know. But I can see that now when you see kids in the locker room with heads down, with a little bit of tear in their eye, now it means something.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? If you get beat, if you're getting beat by, a couple touchdowns here or there, and you know you could have done better. It hurts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we want. Do I want them to sit around crying all the time? No, but I want them to feel that, hey, you know, okay, we lost. Don't accept it, but you don't have to ponder on it and get better from it.
Yeah. That just tells me you got the locker room and they respect the crap out of you. You know?
Sting and let it
they
drive
want to
you.
make you proud, Coach. You know what I
They
mean?
do.
That really
They
is
do.
what it is, I think.
My son Rylan coaching middle school, him and Ricky Fleming, but I got a text earlier, we were talking on the break, that they beat Meigs 31-20. So hopefully
Nice.
that's a good sign
Yeah.
coming into the weekend.
Congratulations.
So, congratulations to them.
Junior high
31-20. Junior high. So that was their last game. And how important is that middle school program for your success?
It's a building. It's a feeder program for us. I mean, I think they've got the biggest number of eighth graders coming in we've had in a long time. I think they got 15 eighth graders coming in next year,
Some good-looking athletes.
and good-looking kids. So you know, it's our feeder programs, and you know, that's the numbers we have to really try to get up. Because you know, I think there's only maybe 5 or 6 seventh graders on that whole team. So everybody's. Seems like our biggest classes are the younger classes.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's 8th grade, it's always the 6th grade. Then, of course, that rotates, and they have about 1 year. Then that 7th grade's small.
Yeah.
We need 2 back-to-back classes where we have about 16 kids in 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I think it's coming. I think it's coming. And sometimes it's just the number of kids in that class are just not a whole lot of boys.
Yeah. Well, we ran into that one of our 7th grade classes. I think we only had 5 kids.
Yeah.
It's hard. Because then you got to.
And that's out of your control.
Right.
You know, I mean, I monitor the halls like a hawk. I walk up and down the hallways 15 times a day going different classes, and gym, back to my classroom. And, you know, of course, I'm walking down other hallways. I'm talking to kids. And, you know, so there's going to be some kids come out next year that didn't play this year that are all excited about playing next year already. So we're looking forward to some of those new faces. And all of our kids are coming back next year. Obviously, our senior class, we're going to be losing a good senior class.
Yeah.
You know, with Bennett, I love Bennett to death. Dayton Breach, Hunter Brown, Mikey Weber, our field goal kicker, Isaac McWilliams, our linebacker. You know, those guys will be dearly missed. My first year.
Yeah.
You know, so those guys.
Evan
You won't
Canner,
ever forget all those
Yeah,
guys.
Canner.
You know, and look at Isaac, what he's done.
Yeah.
Impressive.
His senior year, you know, he's been a receiver or a tight end his whole career. And then I come in as a coach, I put him at tackle. And I said, this is where you're going to be as a tackle. You know, and he owned it. I mean, now, was there a little bit of fight back in the beginning? Yeah. But
He's
I
like,
said,
if I'm going to get to see me on the field, this is
man.
where I'm going to have to
And
do.
I'll tell you what, we threw him a bone a couple times in some scrimmages, and you know, he caught a pass or two. But I mean, he's really bought into it, and now he loves it.
Yeah,
So-
you can tell.
He does
so
a
it's
good job.
thing.
He
And
really
he does. But that's the commitment. You know?
Yeah.
And he's a super smart kid.
Yeah.
You know, so really proud of him and his effort and his sacrifice. Because as a senior, you know, he had to change his number 17 to 55 to a lineman number.
Yeah.
You know, I let him get his picture. Well, I didn't let him. He got his picture and senior pictures at number 17 and everything. But I wanted to mention that because that was a big trade-off for him, and it was a commitment for him.
Yeah. After the season,
Amazing.
over, he might wish he would have gotten it in 55.
Yeah,
You know,
it-
like I mean, after the year that he's had, you know what I mean?
There's a
Like,
lot
so-
of people that don't mean much.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, put yourself in you're 17, 18 years
Yeah.
old, and that's your number. And this guy comes in coaching, and he's going to take my number. You know,
Yeah.
but I was just proud of him.
Well, I think it says a lot about you too, Coach, how you approach it, because you are compassionate and understand what that means to him. So, you know, and that's going to speak to the rest of the team volumes of how much you care for your team. Because a lot of coaches just say, hey, listen, suck it up, you know, and that's where you're playing because that's where I need you, you know, and so you're saying, hey, it's where the team needs you, and I appreciate it because I know it's not where you want to play, but it's where you can help the team out. And then you've recognized him on here 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
so it must be a huge impact, you know, to you
Yes.
from how he's.
I know he's got hit of the week once, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played
Yeah.
great from linebacker
So-
position too.
Yeah.
And there's so many kids out there. It's just, and I failed to mention all their names because,
Right.
man, of course, we got how many brothers out there? We got Collins. We get them all mixed up. You got Lamberts, or is it not Collins, Seth and
Seth and Bryce,
Bryce Lamberts, and then you got
Mason and Hunter
Mason
Collins.
Hunter, and then Isaac, and then
Connor
Connor
McWilliams. I feel like there's another set too, but I can't think of it right off the top of my head. Maybe not.
So
Evan was another one of our big seniors too. I forget what
Evan
his
Chandler,
name was.
Yeah.
He's only a second-year player.
Yeah.
If he'd have played his freshman and sophomore year, I mean, it's hard to tell what he could have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and all those players that we don't talk about a lot, they're the ones that they're a huge part of the program, the success. You know, because without those guys, nothing happens.
Yep.
So we don't. I mean, every player matters. You know, and I know you know that better than anybody.
You got to win the battle to win the war.
Yes.
You know.
That's it.
And you got to get your team to buy in. You know, kids can, they'll read through you. If they know you're fake, they'll read through you. And if you're coming here and you tell them that this, and that, but then you're not walking that talk, they'll see you through you, and then they won't buy in. But you obviously got them to buy in, and by just getting them to understand you care about them. You know, each individual kid, you care about them. And you can tell a story about each kid on your team. I'm sure, you know, about their.
I know next week we're going to have Hunter Collins on here. I mean, you guys have seen it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Played absolutely out of his mind against Athens.
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, he did Nelsonville, and he is an edge setter, and I'm telling you what, he is a football player.
Yeah.
He is a
Through
football
and
player.
through.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a good player. And I said, man, you'd be defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he is that good.
That was
He is
one of the
that
best
good.
individual defensive performances I've seen in years.
Yeah.
In high school football.
Yeah, it's hard to find kids that's his size, strong. I mean, he's strong. He's probably the second strongest
Yeah.
in the locker room.
Yep.
And
His
he's
dad was
probably
one of the best
third
defensive
fastest
tackles I ever seen.
locker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's strong and fast. And we had him down in the trenches early in the season. Now we moved him up to the edge along with Bennett, you know, and both of them they set the edge for us. So we're looking for good things from Hunter Collins in the future also.
Yep.
It's in his boy's DNA. I'm telling you.
That's it.
I know their grandpa's real proud of them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, got Meigs coming to town this week. Got a quarterback that can hurt you.
Yes.
But defense improved by one club, at least. We got
We got another
one club
club.
less.
we made a joke this week. We got Johnny and Seth back here, and you put them Johnny and Josh. You put them together. We got one good set of hands.
Maybe we said something on the broadcast. Maybe they can make an interception together.
Yeah.
So good to have Josh back. Coach, thanks for stopping by, man.
All right, thank
Good
you.
luck
Thanks,
tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Look for a strong
Appreciate it.
finish.
Thanks,
Oh, yeah.
Coach.
Take care.
Thank you guys. Always.
Okay, with that, no picks for us tonight. We didn't do our homework. We got some substitute producers, so you guys get a break.
Yep.
Of course, we can always pick the Wellston Meigs game. I think we all got Rockets in this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
We're
For
going,
sure.
Big blue all the way on that.
not playing the villain this week. They're hungry. It's time to come back and get one.
Let's go through the TVC games
ready.
real quick.
Who plays next week? Well, Vinton County, Nelsonville.
Who you guys got?
Vikings.
Go Vikings.
I'm going with VC.
Go Vikings.
VC.
Yep.
Yep.
Because here's why. I've said this just about every time I pick him. It's that defense, man. I think this is where Gavin Richards meets the wall.
Yeah.
They're gonna force Mekhi Williams to try to beat him, and Mekhi's a good athlete, and he can give him a little bit of boost in the run game. But you're not going to see him throwing the ball all over the field.
I think Benton County they average 300 plus yards a game on the ground
Yeah.
a week, and if you can maintain that throughout the season, and with a defense like that,
Yeah. Well, you can just
that's a tough
grind,
football team.
and when you're
Yeah.
running, you're working that clock.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
the clock's a big factor.
you
in
got
that type of
control.
run game. Yeah.
You know,
It's going to be a fun game to watch, man. That's definitely probably game of the year.
I think
in
it's
the
going
TVC.
to come down to Benton County's defense on that one.
Yeah, yep.
For sure.
Absolutely. Any other games that you know of that we?
No, I
I'm
should
not-
have
I'm not
better
sure who-
prepared, so I apologize.
Not
about
sure
that.
who plays who. If I had,
Who's Jackson play?
I'm not sure who Jackson plays.
I'm not sure.
I can look up a couple games here if somebody talks.
Yeah. I don't really have much.
Or
to say.
not.
Yeah. I'd say let's just we'll go ahead and end it on that.
Yeah,
I,
right.
I don't know who Athens.
Yeah.
Let's look
That
up
way-
who Athens has real quick here.
So
I do
Athens-
have that River Valley.
Yeah.
So definitely, I want to go with that.
Yeah,
Go with
on that.
A-Town on that, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's our halfway done picks. We're going to get out of here. I'm Matt Petersen, Nate Molihan, Jordan Lackey. We'll see y'all next week.
See you
God
next
bless.
week, guys.